Let's move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets sent to us by Joshua Levesque, who writes, "Hey, John, huge fan for 5 years and appreciate all your hard work on the show." Thank you so much, Joshua. Did you see what Scarlett Johansson recently said in As If magazine? She talked about stepping down from the gender male lead in the Rub Tug movie due to all the backlash. She even says she should be able to play any person, tree, or animal because that's my job. I love Scarlett as an actress, but I'm tired of the political correctness in Hollywood. What are your thoughts? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Joshua. And yes, so there's actually been a bunch of movement. For those of you who haven't heard about what's going on, there's been a bunch of things going on. Scarlett Johansson saying something, then clarifying, saying she was misquoted and giving her actual position on something, and it's been going back and forth. So what is all this, ruckus about at this point? Well, Scarlett Johansson was being interviewed. Now, you guys remember just a short while ago, she was going to be producing and starring in this movie called Rub Tug, which was based on a true story about this person who was born as a woman, but she identified as a man. And it was got a mob story involved and all this kind of stuff. It was going to be the big protagonist. But then there was a lot of backlash against Scarlett Johansson because she was going to be playing a transgendered character when she herself is not a transgendered person. And a whole big debate ensued. And we'll get into that in a minute. Anyway, kind of reflecting back on that, this is what was quoted in her interview. All right. This is what was quoted. Scarlett Johansson was quoted as saying the following: as an actor, I should be allowed to play any person or any tree or any animal because that's my job and the requirements of my job. I feel like it's a trend in my business and it needs to happen for various social reasons. Yet there are times it does get uncomfortable when it affects the art because I feel art should be free of restrictions. So that's what she was quoted as saying in her interview. Now look, even before she clarifies her statements, I've got to tell you, and you may agree with me and you may disagree with me, and that's fine. I'm not going to like or dislike you based on whether you agree with me or disagree with me on this, but this is where my mind is on this right now. I think everything she just said in this quote as it is completely true. It's completely true. Now look, you guys know my position on this. I've said this many, many times. The job of every actor is to pretend that they are something that they are not. That's the job of every actor. You have a role, you're an actress and you just got cast in a role to play the mother of 3 children, and your husband was a former British agent and you're starting to suspect what's going on in his life. Guess what? The actress they cast will not literally be a mother of 2 who is actually married to a British spy and she's actually in her real life becoming suspicious. That actress is brought in to play something or somebody that she is not. That's what they do. In all the movies in history that have had an incarnation of Hitler, do you think that they went out, we are looking for an actual Nazi, a short Nazi who actually goes around wearing the little Hitler stash, who believes in Nazi propaganda, to come in and play Hitler because we need to make it authentic? No, they get an actor who is not actually a Nazi in real life to come in and play the role of Hitler. To that degree, I actually agree with everything that is being quoted by Scarlett Johansson here. Now, just to be clear here though, Scarlett Johansson then came out and said that her remarks were edited for, as she calls it, clickbait, and they were taken out of context. Now, this comes to us from Deadline, okay? In Deadline, she goes on to say this: the question I was answering in my conversation with the contemporary artist David Sale was about the confrontation between political correctness and art. She said, I personally feel that in an ideal world, any actor should be able to play anybody, and art in all forms should be immune to political correctness. That is the point I was making, albeit didn't come across that way. I recognize that in reality, there is a widespread discrepancy among my industry that favors Caucasian cisgendered actors, and that not every actor has been given the same opportunities that I have been privileged to get. I continue to support and always have diversity in every industry and will continue to fight for projects where everybody is included. So she was clearly making a point here that she was kind of misquoted a little bit, but still the underlying message there is the same. She is somebody who believes in diversity in the business. She believes that everybody should be given equal opportunity, but she also believes that performers should be able to perform whatever roles are out there and that sort of thing. So this whole issue, and everybody gets mad at me for that, and I'm totally fine for people being mad at me. I don't really care. As long as you're being mad at me for what my actual opinion is and not for some opinion somebody makes up, it says that I said. That pisses me off. But, I mean, my opinion on this is simply this. We have to go back here to the Rub Tug situation. And I believe that was a situation that was massively mishandled. Now, look, Scarlett Johansson's point that she just made in Deadline was that, you know, there are actors and performers in this business who are non-white, non-straight, whatever, people who do not get the same opportunities and are often turned away from casting processes simply because of who they are. That's beyond dispute. That's not in dispute here. I mean, that's widely acknowledged and recognized. And I agree with her on that. That her point that everybody needs to be given an equal opportunity. Equal opportunity doesn't mean you get equal results, but everybody needs to be given equal opportunity. So that's fine. And as far as political correctness goes, I got to say this. A lot of times I find, and you may agree or disagree with me on this and fine. And you know what? Maybe I'll even change my mind about this in a couple of weeks. Maybe I'll even change my mind about this in a couple of weeks, to be honest with you. But when I hear people using the term political correctness, what I often find, not always, clearly not always, maybe not even the majority of the time, but there are times that I hear somebody use the word political correctness as a negative, in negative connotations. And what they, again, only some people, I'm not saying this is everybody, but I'm saying there are times when I see somebody use the term political correctness. And really, what's really happening is that they're using that made up term as a shield. Because really, a lot of times what political correctness means is, hey, let's not act like assholes in how we treat other people. That's political correctness. Hey, let's not act like assholes in how we treat other people. But people don't want to say, I don't like being limited in how much of an asshole I get to treat other people. They don't want to say that, so they use the term political correctness as some kind of a shield. But really, what political correctness means in certain circumstances, again, I'm not making a big, broad blanket statement here, so don't pretend that I am. I'm not making a big, broad blanket statement. But there are many contexts when the term political correctness is just the term we use to say, hey, let's not act like assholes in how we treat other people who are different from us. That's what it is. So that's on one hand. On the other hand, this Rub Tug situation never sat well with me. And to me, was always rather counterproductive. Because you get movies like, you want to increase the conversation and increase opportunities for people, then get the ball rolling and start to embrace change as it comes. And so what happens? We had Transamerica. We had the Dallas Buyers Club. We had The Danish Girl with Eddie Redmayne, which got him a Best Actor nomination. Got Alicia Vikander a Best Supporting Actress Oscar, as a matter of fact. Eddie Redmayne, that. You get movies and TV shows and projects like this, you start to change the industry by doing that. So along comes Scarlett Johansson. And we're kind of rehashing what happened before, but I think it's worth doing here for a moment. Along comes Scarlett Johansson, arguably the hottest actress in the world right now. Arguably. The most high-profile, hottest actress, definitely biggest box office actress in the world right now. who says, you know what? I'm going to produce a movie that continues to spread this movement of increasing awareness for this community that often gets downtrodden, for this community that we often put down or we don't fully understand. And I want to make this movie. I'm going to produce it. I'm going to star in it. I'm going to put the full weight of my celebrity, of my credibility. I'm going to put the full weight of it behind this film by not just producing it, but I'm going to star in it to make it as high profile as possible. That's going to have a transgender person as the lead in this high profile film. And I'm going to do all that and blah. And we're continue to make these things so that having movies, follow me here, having movies with transgendered characters stops being considered such a odd thing or stops being considered such a weird thing. I'm not saying every other movie should have transgendered characters in it. That's not an accurate reflection of reality. I'm not saying that. However, there is a stigma attached to having transgender characters in television shows and movies that is starting to change, thankfully, but needs to continue to change. With Rub Tug, we had an opportunity for somebody like a Scarlett Johansson to come and say, let's continue pushing this forward and let's make a high profile project. I'll produce it. I'll star in it. I'll pull the full weight of my credibility, my celebrity behind it, and we'll continue to change things. And the idea is they get changed enough that in the future, more and more roles become available to other groups of people that otherwise have never been given those opportunities before. That's the goal. But what happened? Instead of people celebrating that she was going to do this, instead of people celebrating that a star like Scarlett Johansson was going to put her weight behind furthering this agenda, behind furthering this notion of tearing down the limitations and tearing down the exclusions that's been put on entire groups of people, instead of being celebrated, they attacked her. People attacked her for it. And here's the real irony of this. Whereas a movie like Rub Tug, with the biggest actress in the world behind it as a producer and an actor, could have paved the way further down the line for more movies to include roles for people who aren't just straight white people. Whereas a movie like this down the road could have increased the number of films that got made like this and increased the number of roles that got included in other movies and projects. Instead of doing that and fighting for a future where more opportunity would be available to people who aren't getting the opportunity now, instead we became effing short-sighted and just fought over this one role. Well, Scarlett, you shouldn't be in this. How dare you put yourself in this movie? How dare you? And we started fighting over one role instead of fighting for what this could have led to, a whole bunch of new roles to be included if a movie like Rub Tug and other movies like it, got major studios, major stars, major personalities behind them to push them to make the inclusion of these types of roles in those movies more normal. Instead of looking at the big picture, people looked at this one role and became completely myopically focused on this one role that was just right in front of their nose. And they made this one role in this one movie their battleground. We're going to fight over this role. We think you shouldn't be in this, Scarlett. You should give this to somebody else. Instead of looking at the big picture and instead of looking down the road of what a movie like this could have led to, we made the battleground this thing that was right in front of our face. And we made the fight over with this one role and became totally short-sighted and lost view of the big picture. What's the results been? Scarlett Johansson backed out of the role. And we haven't heard anything about this movie since. Congratulations. Well done, everybody. Well done. Yeah, well done. We just set everything back 10 years. There was an opportunity for another high-profile film to have as its lead character, a transgender character led by the hottest star in Hollywood doing it, which could continue this trend that things like The Danish Girl and others has kind of set to make these types of characters in these movies more normal, that could have led to more opportunities down the road. But instead, we chose this to be the battleground. And now where's Rub Tug? Where is it now? I don't know. Maybe they'll still make it. Maybe they will. But now it's going to be this quiet little list on Box Office Mojo, also opening this week in 15 theaters, Rub Tug. And what difference is that going to make? How much of a difference is that going to make? Instead of a major movie releasing in 1,500 theaters across the country starring Scarlett Johansson. And what I think Scarlett Johansson's comments here were, she is completely in support of creating new opportunities for people who haven't been given the opportunities that she has, but at the same time, an actor's job is to act. And I really think, and again, I know there are a lot of people who completely disagree with me on this, and that's great. That's what dialogue's for. We're here to disagree with each other and have different thoughts. And like I said, I might even change my mind on this in 2 months. I might hear some good arguments from you guys that'll change my mind. I'm not drawing a line in the sand here at all, but that is how I feel about it right now. And I think that's what Scarlett Johansson is kind of stating here. I think she's lamenting to me the loss of an opportunity. When we see comments like this, to me, what I see is a movie star who is trying to do something good and no good deed goes unpunished. And she got brutally attacked for trying to do something good. And these, to me, are the comments of somebody who's lamenting a lost opportunity, not just for herself, but for an entire movement. And that's how I see it. I agree with her on that. I do. I think both are true. I think there is a place that we need to create more opportunities. I think there's been an agenda in Hollywood for decades and decades and decades to keep certain people out. And I believe those agendas have to come to an end. But at the same time, actors are actors and you got to be allowed to let them act. And you got to take advantage of the opportunities when the cause of breaking down these decade-old agendas has to come first. And I just think it was a lost opportunity. So anyway, that's how I see. Now everybody's pissed off at me. Fine, I don't care. Everybody's pissed off at me and that's fine. But that is my honest opinion on that. That is how I feel about that. Actors should be able to play people that they are not in real life. That's what acting is. Anyway, guys, you've heard me drone on and on about this. What do you guys think about this whole stuff with Scarlett Johansson, her comments, the backlash from it, all that kind of stuff? Jump down to the comments section below and let me know what you guys think. All right.